Get it going here. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Just so you know, we are being recorded tonight. Please don't say or do anything too embarrassing. We are currently live streaming to YouTube. So, I'm Thomas. I'm welcome to the Game Dev Club tonight. So first off, I'd like to thank Kill and Lehigh for letting us use their space. Riley, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Riley with Kiln, and just to explain Kiln, we're a co-working space, so essentially that means we rent out office space and resident desks and meeting rooms to companies or individuals that are hoping to find places to work. And so if any of you have any questions or are interested in Kiln, don't feel afraid to ask me, or we can get you a day pass. We have lots of space, and we're happy to have you.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for letting us use your space. So, next, we have a sponsor. I convinced someone to help pay for the pizza this month. They told me that I'd have to show you a video. This is only like a minute long, but it's a trailer for an augmented reality game that I'm working on. I might have to check the audio real quick. It should be fine. It should be fine. That's the wrong audio device, I think. Yep, that's definitely the wrong audio device. All right, so that's Sword of Secret by Super Future House. If you scan the QR code here, they have the website. You can download and play the app now. And and thanks again to Future House for helping support the club. All right, moving on. Club business. So we are not doing a meeting in December because most people are going to be traveling, vacationing, etc. Our next meeting will be in January. Please follow us on Discord if you want more updates. You can scan the link up there, right, the QR code up there in the top right to join our Discord server. We do not have public invites for the Discord server to prevent bot activity. So if you need a link or an invite to the Discord server, please ask me. I'll be happy to give it to you. Moving on. I think that's everything, actually. All right. Let's go around real quick. We'll do introductions, and then we'll get on to David's presentation. So the way we do this is we just pass the mic around the room. Please introduce yourself. Tell us what your name is. Tell us what you do. And tell us what your current game project is. So I'm Thomas Keene. I'm a software engineer with about a decade of Unity experience. I'm currently working on Swords with Future House. And I'm also making a tabletop RPG and a puzzle game on the side when I have time for them. Currently, I'm in the middle of a contract, so I don't have that much time, but I hope to get back to it soon. I'm going to pass the mic around here real quick.
Hi, I'm David Whaley. You'll be hearing a lot from me the rest of the time. Yeah, I'm a full-time indie game developer. I'm working on an unannounced game. It's like a cinematic first-person game, and I usually use Unity.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I'm married to Thomas, and he has gotten me to get interested in game dev. Normally I do art, so it is hard for me to think in math sometimes, but I'm getting better as I'm going along. And right now, the project that I'm working on, the file name is Takeshi's Challenge, but I hope it's not as bad as Takeshi's Challenge, the game. So.
Hi, I'm Brienne. I am an indie developer. I'm working on a couch co-op tower defense game about building mazes called Labyrinths of Elfheim. I've been working on it for about 2 years. I have a fun new demo to show off at the end with some new features. But yeah, that's me.
My name's Josh. I'm a sound designer. If you need sound for your games, I'd love to work on them. I'm between projects right now, so I don't have anything.
I'm his dad. My name's Ben Cloward. I have about 25 years of game dev experience, and I'm working for Unity right now on the shader graph team.
I'm Luke. I'm currently a college student at the University of Utah in the games degree and working on various projects in various classes.
I'm Dylan. I'm Legendary Epics on the Discord. I'm working on an action adventure title in Unreal.
Yeah, my name's Derek. Work in cybersecurity at Hill Air Force Base. Working on scripts right now. Just doing a lot of writing. Hoping to do like an RPG game.
I'm Human DLC. I'm going by my Discord name because that's where you'll probably see me next. I'm the artist for a game called Arcane Audit with the studio Broken Beaker. It's a two-man team. The other guy said he was coming tonight. We'll see if he makes it.
Hi, I'm Marsh. I describe myself as a mixed reality enthusiast looking to learn about the industry and hopefully launch a game.
All right, thank you all for coming tonight. That covers just about everything. David, do you want to get set up? All right, so after David goes, we'll have time to set up demos and ask questions. So for now, I'm going to turn the time over to David. Testing 1, 2.
Cool. I think it's working. Yeah, this is good. All right, I'm excited to be here. My name is David Whaley. I'm a full-time indie dev, which is something, if you would have told me that 5 years ago, I would have said you're crazy. Because I'm not good at programming. I'm self-taught. I come from a filmmaking background. But I've always loved games. I've loved games. I made mods when I was 12. But I mostly went into film. I studied at BYU at Media Arts. But I am now this, sometimes some people consider me a spokesperson because I started a YouTube channel. I spoke at GDC, which was a cool opportunity. And this is my job now. And it's been kind of an awkward transition to go from hobbyist to professional. And I wanted to talk, so this isn't a technical talk, this is a business and marketing talk. And I wanted to talk about, if that's something you want, how to make that happen, how to be a full-time indie game developer, because it's still very possible when you compare it to other industries like writers or filmmakers or musicians. It's way easier than those industries, but it's still competitive. By a show of hands, who wants to be like indie game full-time developer? That's like the dream, right? Not the Unity worker. Yeah, it's possible. It's hard. It's a long journey. It took me roughly about 4 years, and that's when that's when a friend showed me Unity for the first time. And yeah, this will be a lot of anecdotes. It'll be a lot of personal stories. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I'm not even saying like every opinion I have is the right opinion, but this is what's worked for me. So a little bit about me. Like I said, I come from a filmmaking background. I went to Sundance Film Festival in 2012, which is when they had Indie Game the movie. Have you guys seen that? That's a good one. And that I kind of like got the gears turning in my head. I'm like, a solo developer can make a whole video game now, which that wasn't very common even like 10 or 15 years ago. This is like a new phenomenon. And so I grew up playing games. I loved games. I played all the traditional Nintendo games, but I do remember vividly playing Final Fantasy VI for Super Nintendo, and how like even as like a 10-year-old, like I almost cried because the story and the characters were so amazing. And I am quite partial to narrative-driven video games. That's like the niche that I love. And that happened again when I played the game Dear Esther in 2010, and I was at school, and I was in the middle of like watching all these experimental films and really diving deep into filmmaking. And then I realized like this weird experimental game. Who here's played Dear Esther? Have you guys heard of it? It's you just walk. That's it. It's the dialogue's randomized. It's people call it walking simulator. But for me, that was like it's a very emotional game. It touched me, and I realized like you could do these kind of games now. Like that's the indie space was expanding, which was really cool. I eventually started working after I made my first game, which I'll get into. I worked at The Void for several years, which is a VR company, and we did Ghostbusters and Star Wars and stuff. I was a technical artist there. And I only got that job because of my indie games, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Now, like after The Void, and they fell on hard times due to COVID, but I was able to quit my job at The Void and become a full-time game developer, which I'll get into a little bit. So let's talk about my first game I made in 2015. Like I started learning Unity around 2014. And again, I was talking about walking simulators. That's what this is. I love Dear Esther. I love the game Gone Home. And you play as a little girl who misses the school bus, but she's from an abusive home, and so she decides to like change her life around. I grew up in like the deep south of Virginia, and I put all those feelings. It was like a vibe. I don't know. It was inspired by like kids I knew growing up as like an elementary school kid. And I wanted to make it personal because that's, as indie game developers, that's what you can do is like you can put your like life and your stories into a game, which is amazing, especially now since solo developers, like that's a thing now. This game didn't do great. It was my first game, and I spent 18 months, and it's literally like a 30-minute experience. I charged $3 for it on Steam. I had to go through Steam Greenlight, where you had to get voted in. And I was like, maybe my like aspirations were too high. I was like, I'm gonna make $100,000 on it. It's gonna be great. It made about on launch week. It probably made about a couple $1,000s, which still is like a hobby project. That was really exciting to me. I used the money to make like I built a dream computer. It wasn't that great of a game. This was one of the Steam reviews. I have absolutely nothing good to say about this game. And being an indie game developer means like you put yourself out there, and it's uncomfortable. It was hard. Like you spend 18 months every night. 'Cause I was working full time. It was totally. I was moonlighting as a game developer, and it's hard to put yourself out there and for people to crap on it. But I loved being able to be in control of a world, and like I said, like I'm not a super good programmer. I come from an artist and filmmaking background. So but it was so cool to me that there was visual scripting tools. Like for Unity, I use a visual scripting tool called Playmaker a lot. Now I actually am like, I know C#, I'm using that only now. But back in the day, like that was my entry. But still, there's speed bumps, there's hurdles. And I remember telling my friend after this, I was like, I'm done making games. It's a lot of work. It did okay. Like I think in total it made, over the course of several years and deep discounting, it made $10,000. So like I couldn't quit my job on that, obviously. After I took a break, I realized like I was making these games for me. I loved it so much. And so I made a second game called The First Tree. And that was I started working around 2016. And this was inspired. I was too poor back then as a yeah, I was working full time. Actually, no, I was a student for part of making my first game, Home is Where One Starts. So I didn't have enough money to like buy a PlayStation 4. So I went to a rent-a-center to rent a PlayStation 4, and I played Journey and all the PlayStation exclusives. And I played Journey. I was like, this is such an amazing game. I love this game. And I wanted to put my own creative twist on it. I used a lot of assets from the Unity Asset Store. I wanted to tell this emotional story about a fox losing her cubs, but also there's a second parallel story. This is like where the experiment part of it came in, where there's like a couple talking in the background of the game, and it's about how his father passed away, which is what happened to me unexpectedly, and I just become a father myself. So I put all those feelings, I put all that storytelling energy into this game. And I learned I had mistakes in my first game. Like I didn't market it. I did silly things like I launched it at midnight because I thought that's when you should launch a video game at midnight, like a movie premiere or something. I made these mistakes and I kept track of them in a Google Doc. I really wanted to do it again. And this one got attention like immediately. There was a hook. And I think it was the hook because there was the striking visuals. There was complementary colors. To have like a green forest with its complementary color, which is an orange red. It would catch their attention. A lot of the news articles, like on PC Gamer and Kotaku, would say something like Journey plus Fox, which was a hook. People grabbed onto it, and it shocked me. This was still hobby mode. Right about this time, I had used my first game, Home is Where One Starts, as a resume piece to get my job at The Void. So it was a huge success. Like even the things that feel like failures at the time, they can still be like stepping stones to something bigger, which is awesome. So I had my dream job. I was working with great people. I got to work on Star Wars. But I was still doing this on the side just because I had this creative energy. I was tired of taking orders, so I'd want to make my game. And so I marketed it, which those are examples of like tweets and imagery posts and whatever. I worked on it every night. I have a slide about it. What did I put? Yeah, launched. It cost me $10,000 in total, and that includes like the website, going to PAX, which was fun, buying all the assets, lots of assets for this game. It took 18 months, and I just worked about 10 hours a week, usually 3 hours of marketing, which is usually making a GIF, making GIF creation, doing GIF creation. And then it launched on Steam. And yeah, I had like a launch, like a list of things to do to make it work, which include like a mailing list, posting on like the game dev Facebook groups, posting on Reddit, Imager. It was a whole thing. I was wearing a 1,000 hats. But it was fun in that way, right? When I look back on it, I don't see how I could do that again, especially now with 3 kids. It was a lot of work, but it went really well. And then it launched in its first year, it made $150,000 on Steam. Here's some examples of like what the fox looked like when I bought it originally, and then I painted in Photoshop. I experiment with shaders. I use not just the Unity Asset Store, but there's and this comes from my filmmaking background of every like editor has like a million different stock asset resources. So I was like, I'll use those for a video game. That'll work. And that includes things like Music Bed, free sounds. I'm sure you guys use Free Sound. I love that website. Turbo Squid, all that stuff. So yeah, that was a really cool thing. It changed my life. It was always a hobby project, but it started turning into something more. I had publishers interested, like tons of people reached out. I said no to all the publishing deals because I knew this was still a hobby and I didn't want that pressure on me. People ask me like, why did The First Tree succeed on Steam? If it sold it sold on Steam, it was selling tens of thousands of units by the end of the year. And this is what I think why it was a hot subgenre, which we're going to talk about later. Because there was like this this subgenre of emotional animal games coming, like a wave. You could see the wave coming, but it hadn't hit yet. Like there was another game called Lost Ember where you play as like this magical wolf, and that game did extremely well. The Kickstarter did well. But I released my game fast because one of the perks of being a solo game developer is you can work fast. You can't go far, but you can go fast as a solo game developer. The visuals, like graphics matter. Like when people shop on Steam, they look at the Steam page for like 3 seconds max, and within 3 to 5 seconds, they know if they're gonna buy the game or not. So you have to like catch them, usually with catchy art, and usually with, that doesn't mean it has to be like photorealistic graphics. It needs like a touch, this aesthetic attractive quality that's hard to describe, but usually when you see it, you know it. With this, like I was inspired by Journey, and so having that flat cell shaded look helped a lot of people. They associate it with Journey, and immediately, like in that 3 seconds they're looking at a game, it clicks. I knew like I didn't market my first game really well, so I was like, I'm gonna post every week, which is a lot of work. It was exhausting, but it did pay off because by the time I launched, I had about 12,000 wish lists on Steam. And this is the big piece of my theory is, like I said, it was Journey plus Fox. And there's actually a lot of people that will buy anything just because it has a fox in it. So it was cool. I was proud of it. It was still, I hadn't quit my job yet. I was still working at the Void. And that took the pressure off. This is my project. It was a hobby project. I did it because I liked it. There was like this, people wanted like console ports and they wanted updates. So I'm like, it was out of my hands a little bit at this point. So I decided I wanted to try to get it to consoles and mobile. And this is the console thing it's the hardest thing I've ever done. It was definitely, I self-published, which is crazy. I don't recommend that. I think it helped though, because again, like I said, like you need hardcore engineers to get past certification, which is their rigorous process before they can publish a game on each console. So I did. I asked a friend who they recommended, and I contacted a studio named Do Games. If you're ever interested in porting to a console, I highly recommend them because they have like a suite of scripts that are like their proprietary scripts for Unity. And now they've done all the work for you. You just drag and drop the scripts, and it does most of the certification process. And people ask like, well, what's so hard about it? It's just a lot of little things like death by 1,000 cuts. You'll have to integrate cloud saving. The achievements are required. You have to, there's engagement, meaning like you have to have the press A to begin button before the game starts. What else? There's just, you have to if like your save data is corrupt, you have to have special warning messages that pop up. And it's just a lot. And I was doing this full time. And that's why I say I don't think I could have done this. I couldn't do this now. But it was a really special thing. And this is where things kind of exploded. My Steam launch did well, but my console launches did better. And this is where, and I ported to mobile as well, which did okay. It was nothing compared to Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch is where the majority of my sales came from. But yeah, I got help. I got help with the certification. I self-published. And it was, I say this story because I want to tell you guys that success is like a ladder. You step on a rung on the ladder, and the only way you can get to the second rung is because you stepped on the first rung, and it's a step by step. It's a staircase. There's a lot of failures too. I didn't show you all the GIFs that I made and marketed that did horrible. I would work hard. I'd spend 2 or 3 hours on a GIF that I thought was really good, and no one would click on it. I wouldn't get any wish list from it. But you just do it. You just keep going. I don't know. You just keep going. The console ports took 6 months, which was insane to me for just a port, but that's how it goes. And you just keep going. I forgot to translate one of the words into Chinese or something on Switch version, and it delayed all 3 platforms. It was a nightmare. It was hard, but it was worth it because that's where because it's so hard to get on Nintendo Switch, for instance. That's where I got the majority of my sales. Anyway, long story short, I'm very tired. I'm telling you how it was a lot to do. I don't like do this talk to like scare anybody, but I like painting a realistic picture so that if you guys do want, you guys that raised your hands that you want this dream, which is obtainable. It's good to learn from others and to take shortcuts where you can. It's important to pick the right type of game. Like if I did the first tree without a fox, I don't think it would have worked. I was able to see that it was working just because social media posts. There's value in finishing a game, of course. Like you should finish a game because finishing a game is so hard. But there's also like if something isn't working, it's not sticking. It's okay to finish it and get to work on the next project. Like none of these good things would have never happened on my first game. It wasn't the ingredients in that recipe of a game. It wouldn't have succeeded in financially. And of course, success is like different in other ways. It doesn't have to be financial, but in this talk, I'm talking. Sorry, that was loud. In this talk, I'm talking specifically about finances, about making this your job. So anyway, yeah, that was my question to you guys. Do you want to be a hobbyist or a professional? And I just need to quote Ron Swanson, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. So I guess that's the question to you guys is, like, do you want to, like, do whatever it takes to, like, make this your job? Because it's nothing wrong with, like, making games for fun. I miss that time when, like, the first tree was just, that was my thing. It was for me in a lot of ways. But when it becomes, like, a paid product and you're trying to sell it to people, it gets complicated. It leaves your hands in a way. So I'm going to talk about the business stuff, and it'll be like maybe like some hard facts. They could be opinions, but this is what I think needs to happen if you want to make a game that sells hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of copies. So yeah, I was talking about the hobbyist thing. Like, who are you making games for? If this is a business, it's okay to treat it like a business, and that can be hard. It can be hard. There's so many moving parts, and like I said, I'm still figuring this part out too. And it doesn't help that like in 2023 and probably in 2024, it's ultra competitive. I'm working on an unannounced game, which I wish I could talk about. I can't because I need to keep it secret for marketing help if I do get an announcement deal. But like this new game is, I'm sending it to people who said they would be interested in my next game, and they're like, no, we just don't have the money. This is a hard year. A lot of publishers are struggling. I'm sure you guys heard all the layoffs just in the game dev industry in general. This is the famine part. There's feast and famine. We're in the famine part of game development. So, but don't lose hope because it always comes back up. But it's competitive. It's hard. But this is also, to frame it in another state of mind, I guess, this is a great time to bootstrap or make your game independently, especially if you don't need a publisher. But that's how I made my game. I made it while working full-time, which was great. I don't regret that at all. It was great to moonlight as an indie game developer. But a lot of people, they want to become full-time and they get a publishing deal. But like the publishing money is never free. You have to recoup it. So if you ask for like a salary to replace it, you'll have to pay it back or before you get a cent of royalty, usually. Publishers can work. I'm kind of anti-publisher, I guess, but if you have a job and you're doing on the side, that can work great. Like, you don't have to get a publishing deal, and it's ultra competitive anyway. Real quick, a lot of people ask me about business tips because there's like a lot to learn. Because like, oh, like, do I need to form a company? Like, can I publish a game without having a company? I've learned a lot. I never thought I'd be like a business owner, like, but that's really what I am. I am the CEO of David Whaley LLC, which is crazy. But just so you know, I feel like getting like stuck on those little things. If it's keeping you from finishing your game, like, just don't worry about it. Countless people every day release games without a company. In Steam, when you sign up and you put in your tax information, you can label yourself as a sole proprietorship. and that just means you're just using your social security number. There's a downside to that, and this isn't legal advice or anything. But that means like if in the small chance you were like sued for something, you yourself are legally liable for those like lawsuit fees. But it doesn't mean like, but like if you were a corporation, or in this case, I'd encourage you to file in the Utah business website, file as a single member LLC. And again, like it's not hard, but like some people like, you do have to like jump through some hoops, and it costs like $25 a year or something. But that does protect you legally because they can only sue your company and not you personally. Anyway, that's like, again, this is like advanced stuff. And if it freaks you out and you just don't want to think about it, you're probably fine. It's not legal. This isn't legal advice, but I published my first game and the first tree as a sole proprietorship. I didn't have a company. I didn't trademark anything. That's something people get confused too, is like copyright and trademark. And they're like, I got to copyright my game. That's probably, there's a little confusion on that. Copyright means like you can like write a poem like on a napkin. Like you just get a napkin for the pizza table and write a poem and it's copyrighted. That means you made it. It's yours. You don't have to register anything for copyright. People are probably talking about trademarking, which does like you probably need a lawyer to help you, and it costs $1,000 to trademark a logo or a company name, and then you have the legal obligation to defend it. So you like if you're not defending your trademark, it will get taken away from you from the government. I just think it's overkill as small indies, and I haven't trademarked. I trademarked my YouTube channel name, and again, I think it was a waste of money. Like I guess technically like somebody could like make the same channel name as me, but I feel like it's those are edge cases. So the business stuff, yeah, there are benefits like I said, but as a small indie, just focus on getting your game done, because like that's the biggest risk factor. Like you're probably not going to get sued. You probably won't finish your game, especially if it's a big game. So take all those obstacles out and focus on launching the game, for sure. Okay, so we're talking about the marketing. Like I've been instructing a lot of people because people, ask me questions, and I started a YouTube channel, and I do like some side consulting, and everyone like gets so confused about like, why isn't my game doing well? Like I share it all the time. Why isn't this working? And so I'm going to talk about that, because marketing isn't just posting on social media. Probably like the most important thing about marketing is that you pick the right idea beforehand. You do market research, and I'll talk about that in a bit. This isn't my idea, this Venn diagram. This is from Ryan Clark, who made Crypt of the Necrodancer. And he was explaining it too. He's like, there's so much competition, and it's so hard to finish a game, and it's so hard to stand out. Like, how do you get a good idea? And Ryan said that probably the best way to describe it is think about the game that you really want to make, but also think about the game you're able to make. And then thirdly, think about a game that will make enough money or is marketable. So with that in mind, let's think about the most important marketing principle of all time. And it's not that crazy of a thought, but just bear with me. Make a game people actually want to buy. And this goes back to marketing being market research. What's amazing about Steam is there's data there. There's marketing data. You can go on Twitter now and see all these different games. You can see which games go viral. Like, you know how valuable of marketing data that is? On Steam, every day I check the Steam new and trending tab every single day. I want to see what gamers want to buy. And that's really important. This is hard truth time, and you don't have to agree with this. This is my perceptions talking to other indie developers who are struggling and want to make it their full-time job. And you can see this for yourself by looking at the Steam new and trending tab. And I will say there are exceptions. But generally speaking, are people buying 2D puzzle platformers? No. Are they buying walking sim games now? No. Are they buying casual mobile games with casual mobile-looking art in them? Usually not. Sometimes they do buy like RPG Maker games, but usually there's like a big twist, or usually it's serving different two different subgenres. Like I know like there's RPG Maker games that do well that are horror. Like that can be a really powerful combination, but by itself, like just making a traditional JRPG, I don't think they sell. Not nowadays, not in 2023. That's the hard truth time. I even think like the first tree, if I would have released it today, it wouldn't have done well. I think like that trend kind of is over with the emotional animal adventure games. So what are people buying? And yeah, and I said check Steam new and trending tab every day. That's part of the market research. Horror games are extremely popular. That's like I have a friend, a marketing guy. His name's Chris Zukowski. He runs a really great blog called How to Market Your Game. And he said horror games is like indie development on easy mode. Like people just buy it and streamers just stream it. It's great. Horror games are great. You've probably noticed there's like a huge influx of cozy puzzle games. There was a husband and wife duo that made a game called A Little to the Left that sold like 300. It was a lot of TikTok videos because it was just satisfying, like fixing a picture frame. It's just a really cozy, easy, relaxing game. I think that sold 300,000 units in a month, something crazy. People are buying a lot of strategy, like deep strategy games, which are harder to make. But if you can make that, especially if like you're really, you're a good advanced programmer, that can be huge. Meme games do well. Games that are entertaining for streamers to play. Buying games from forgotten subgenres. I think that's like, I love the game Stardew Valley. And that did well because there hadn't been like a Harvest Moon type game for years. People were like, they didn't even know they wanted it, but there was a gap in the market, so to speak. And that happens a lot. There'll be a gap that hasn't been served in a long time. And again, it goes back to that thing about the first tree. Like, I think there was a gap of journey type games, and that filled that desire. I don't think I have time for that slide. So that was like the number one most important marketing principle. After years of researching and doing my own marketing, I've come to the realization that the genre of game you choose, or even the subgenre, or even the subgenre, that like determines 80% of your success right out of the gate. All these gamers on Steam, they're dying for certain subgenres, and if they're not getting and they'll just buy anything that even slightly fills that type of sub niche type of game. And like I said, like there's value in finishing a game. It teaches you so much more than like just like experimenting or just theorizing. But if you're in that zone where you're trying to post about your game on social media, but it's like not getting enough likes, it's not the truth, but it might be a sign that genre is just not in demand. Yeah, the hook is important. Have you guys heard of this Don't Scream game? This was like announced in a week. It was announced 2 weeks before launch, which was kind of crazy. There was two developers in England, and they just, I don't know how they did it. It was like this, the hook was so good, and there's things to improve. Like it has a mixed review, but it sold. It actually he shared his numbers. This guy, this one of the developers, it made $900,000 in a week or something insane. And again, it filled those demands of like people want entertaining, like streamer friendly games. Horror games are great. It had a hook which was don't scream into the microphone. The microphone's required in the game. The graphics are really impressive. It's Unreal Engine 5 title. Yeah, I bought this game immediately because it looked fun, and it was fun. I played with my family and stuff. Talking about like the genres that people want. This is a person I helped consult with. This was a developer named Blobfish, and he made Brotato. And again, it's who here's played Vampire Survivors? I love that game. That was so addictive. And he again like he asked me, he's like, I want to be a full-time game developer. I want to make money off of this. And his games, it has the same kind of art style with like the white like kind of Flash era type graphics. And his games were good. He did like the Binding of Isaac type game, and I played it, and he was like desperately asking for advice. And I was like, I don't know, like the game's good. Like the art is kind of casual type, but I don't think that can be a bad thing. He didn't know what to do, but he did this all by himself. He saw Vampire Survivors going huge viral. Everyone was talking about Vampire Survivors, and he made Rotato. And now he is a multimillionaire. He went from like having nothing to at least making 5 million off this game, which is crazy. This is a guy named Gavin Eisenbeiss. He started when he was super young. He's been making games since he was 15. He made a game and they're all free games. That's why I put free there. And they were kind of like they're kind of narrative driven horror games. He was just so ambitious, and he released games, and they would fail. They did okay. Actually, the free games, the first game got a lot of downloads. The second game didn't really get a lot for free. His third game did great, but it was all free. But he's gaining an audience. It was like he was like playing the long game, if that makes sense. And then he was like, I'm gonna make my first paid game. This is it. I'm gonna get rich, or I'm gonna like this will be my full-time job now. I think he said that his parents were like, you need to go to college. He's like, if I can make a lot of money from a video game, will you not force me to go to college? And they were like, maybe, I don't know, you have like 2 years to do it. So that was his goal. So he made kind of like adventure horror game called My Beautiful Paper Smile. It was $15, and it did okay. Like he had a huge audience too. It just I thought this game would have done better. It's $15. It wasn't priced crazy. It just, I don't know why. Just for some reason, sometimes a game doesn't grab people, even though he had the audience and stuff. So he was running out of time before his parents forced him to go to college. So he said, he intentionally, he knew how to make a game. He knew how to finish it. He knew how to do the localization, all those things that are really hard. He said, I'm going to make a game, and I'm going to entirely design it for virality. Like, I want it to go viral. It exists to go viral. That was his thought. And again, he did market research. He tried to figure out like meme things that went viral. And you'll probably recognize the game after I show it to you. Maybe. It did really well on Steam. Yeah, and he worked hard on his YouTube channel, which again is an insane amount of work to be doing YouTube plus full solo game dev, but he did it somehow. And he made a game called Choo Choo Charles. You guys heard of this? This was a huge, he's like 20 years old. He did the YouTube channel. He got like, I don't know, 150,000 subscribers. Just because he spent so much time on the character. He modeled and textured the character. He got that idea from those funny memes of Thomas the Tank Engine like crawling out of a hole, and it's like this horrible nightmarish creature. And those were always popular. He's like, okay, well those go viral. What if I do that again with my own twist? This game again, like he made millions in a month. He'll never have to work again, probably. It's impressive. It's inspiring to me. He did probably burn out a little bit, which this is a factor in our industry. You have to work so hard that you burn out. I feel like I've been dealing with burnout. He stopped. He really took a break after the game launch because he just was so exhausted. But he did it. It was really inspiring. Now he's working on the console ports. He'll probably have another successful 3 launches or something. So people ask me like, wait, I want this to be my full-time job. Like, how do I do it? And so this is the list I made. Study the new and trending tab every day. Pick a trendy and hot subgenre. New games do great too. Make a good game, of course. It probably goes without saying, but it's important to like do the trailer really well. Like, don't spend 5-10 seconds on like a studio name. Like, just go literally like straight the first second, go in the gameplay. If you don't feel like you can do the trailer, there's amazing indie game trailer editors that are affordable. It's worth the price to get a good trailer to pay an editor. If your art isn't phenomenal, like it doesn't like grab your attention, then it's okay to hire an artist. I've been hiring people to help with my workload. I hire people off workwithindies.com, which is like a lot of people frequent that. There's a lot of amazingly talented people because of all the layoffs. They're all looking for work. So there's a lot of great talented people out there now. Probably spend time consuming like TikTok content or consuming Reddit content to see like what sticks. the first street did really well because of viral Reddit posts, and it's because I was probably addicted to Reddit and I knew what worked and what didn't on the platform. That applies to TikTok and YouTube too. Yeah, we talked about making polished GIFs. Here's the new big thing. This is like kind of a new big thing in 2023 and 2024. Make a great demo. Like spend months on just the demo and make it so it has like a beginning, middle, and end, that it leaves you on a cliffhanger, that you want more, and it kind of leaves you hanging. You're like, oh, that game was so good. Keep it short and sweet. It can just be 15, 20-minute demo, works great. And then you can enter that in the Steam Next Fest. People ask me what my marketing plan is for my next game, since I won't have the benefit of foxes and stuff. And my huge plan is to make a really excellent demo and to do Steam Next Fest. I think you can get tens of thousands of wish lists easy from that. And of course, the developers at Valve, there's a lot of people saying like, what's like the secret key to like getting like, what, there must be like some like secret ingredient to add to your store page to like get to the top of the list. And Valve like engineers, like they like confirmed and denied each thing on the list, and they said, nope, that doesn't matter. The algorithm doesn't care. The algorithm doesn't care. But they did say there was one thing that does matter, and that's localization. So I use a website called rev.com where you pay someone. Don't use Google Translate. That always doesn't work out. But you can it's affordable rate to hire someone on rev.com to translate like your Steam store page, like your Steam store page description. And it's work, but like adding subtitles, that's huge. That made my first game. I didn't have subtitles at first, and people kept saying, add subtitles, add subtitles. So I did, and that gave me my biggest sale, like my biggest day of sales since the launch day for my first game. Localization matters. That matters a lot. Okay. I've been talking for almost 40 minutes. So yeah, this slide I was just gonna say, be careful of burnout, and also I did want to say, like, it's important to pick a game you're passionate about, because that's what makes a difference. And I've had debates with people, with other, like, can you go too far one way where it's like you're not making a game you want at all? Like, you're just trying to make a game to make money. And that's true. You got to be careful, because as indie game developers, we're passionate about these projects, and you need that passion. Like, you need it to succeed, or else it won't work out. So I think you play to your strengths. I've talked to any game developer that said like, oh yeah, like if I knew, like I made too big of a game starting out, but I didn't know it was too big. And that being that naive actually helped them finish it, because they were just so passionate about it. And that does happen. So it's a word of caution to me as well. Like, you have to make something you're passionate about, that you'll put in the hours, and that's something that you truly believe in. I guess the point of this talk was to encourage you guys to like think about that Venn diagram of like, can I get my game idea maybe more into the middle, so that we can get something that can sustain a salary for you, pay the bills and everything. Yeah, I'll just go through these really quick. Like, am I doing these things for my new unannounced game? Yep, and I'm trying to keep it secret so that I can like hopefully get a deal to do a big announcement at a big live streaming event maybe. It's not going super great, but you just keep going. You just keep trying. You fail a lot in this journey, but you keep trying new things, and eventually one sticks. In the spirit of that, on the list is all of John Romero's games. And, he made Doom and Wolfenstein. That's what we know him from. But he also, like, for years, like, he was a kid. Like, he finished games. Like dozens and dozens of small games, which is amazing. Without a real game engine. People always say, oh, Stardew Valley, that was Eric Baroni's first game. And it wasn't. He made games before that flopped. The Minecraft, Notch's first game. He did like little JavaScript games like Hunter 4K, and he made dozens of those. So yeah, that's the Venn diagram. That's if you want to make this into your job, which is possible. Like if this filmmaker kid who doesn't know how to program can make this his full-time job, then I'm sure any of you can. But it will take perseverance. It will take hard work. It will take being honest with yourself. It will take like dealing with the trolls, with the haters, and still keep going even when people are saying this is stupid. But it is possible. Because if I can do it, you guys can do it. And that's my talk. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Should we do Q&A now, Thomas? Great. Yeah, you guys can just talk to me. I'll answer. I've gotten a lot of questions in the past, so I've probably heard it all. So you can hit me with anything. Yeah. You know. How did I manage it? You get like little morale boosters, like almost like a speed boost in Mario Kart. Like I would post like a GIF of my game and it would do well. I'm like, oh man, maybe people will buy this game. And that even happened with my first game. Like I failed a lot in that, but there were still like little successes where like a Reddit post, people would be like, oh, this is cool. Wow, you did it. You did this. Yeah, I'll buy it. And it's crazy. Yeah, like you do it because you love it, and you do it because you want to share it with people. And even now, like my first game didn't sell well, but I still get emails once in a while being like, that actually is that's my favorite game, even though I don't consider it that great. But yeah, there's a lot of gamers out there. They want to buy your game. You just need to like. There's so many people vying for your attention. You have to like convince them a little bit, and so it's good to like have a friend play your game and get some feedback. It's good to post on social media and just get a little boost of morale. Yeah, a little boost of motivation. Yeah, it's hard. It just takes months and months, but that's what helped me. Yeah. Like I said, there's a website called like How to Market a Game, and he's a guy I've talked to. His name's Chris from Arizona, Chris Zukowski. He's awesome. Like he knows his stuff, and he's an indie game developer too. He has a newsletter, best newsletter ever. I read every single one from top to bottom. He knows, and he's the one like, I can't take credit for everything that I said. Like he's the one that said the horror game thing. He said like Steam, like gamers are craving like strategy and simulation type games. He does consulting. He's great. You can get all like the good information from his newsletter. And then there's another marketing indie guy, and he does a newsletter too. His name's Simon Carlos. He started GDC, the Game Developer Conference back in the day, and now he does indie marketing tips, and he knows everything too. And he has a newsletter. I read those two, and I feel like if you read those two every time, because they keep you up to date, because stuff changes so fast. It's insane. I highly recommend those. Simon Carlos and Chris Zukowski. Definitely Google those for sure. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Yeah, I'd spend an hour or two making the GIF. There's websites now like EasyGIF, spelled EasyGIF.com. You can just, I use OBS to record a video. I feed it into EasyGIF.com. Excuse me, EasyGIF.com. And that gives you a nice compressed GIF, just does it fast. And then I would post it usually I'd post it on all like, usually I would do 4 places. And I'm not saying this works now. I've especially heard that one of these doesn't work well anymore. I would post on Reddit, and I would usually change up the subreddits because like Reddit's like a community of communities, a lot of different groups. I would post in the Foxes subreddit. I posted in the design subreddit, and that did really well. That surprised me. I would post. Gaming is really strict. That's the main, like 26 million subscribers in the gaming subreddit. They will usually delete a post unless you. Yeah, this is kind of a headache. I don't even think you should post on gaming because they'll probably delete your post. But if you can do 9 real non-self-promotional posts for each one self-promotional post, then they'll let you do a GIF like on the gaming subreddit. It takes work, but I would do that only for big announcements, and it usually went well. And then other than Reddit, I would post on Imager, and this is the website I was telling you that doesn't work as well anymore. It used to be like an indie haven. Like you just get so many wish lists just posting a GIF and saying, "This is my game. What do you guys think?" And everyone would upvote it. I don't think it works anymore. I would post on Twitter, which was hit or miss. And honestly, Twitter doesn't nowadays. It doesn't do much. It's good for like indie. It's good for connections. That's how I got on Nintendo Switch was Twitter. I DM'd like the president of indie games at Nintendo, and he was like, "Yeah, let's get you on board." Like that was like if I hadn't sent that tweet, my life would be very different. But so Twitter's useful, but I don't think it will get you a lot of wish lists or sales. And then I would post on the Facebook groups, sometimes on Tumblr. I don't know if that converted a lot of people to wishlist the game. Nowadays, in 2023, it's a TikTok. TikTok's the big one. And so now I tell people, like, if you can make a really great demo and then submit it to Steam Next Fest, and if you can do like a TikTok once or twice a week and make them entertaining, like make sure you consume TikTok content so you know what sticks and what goes viral, and like tie in your game. And you can't like be too salesy. Like TikTok people hate that, so you have to be really. You have to like just be like, "Hey, I'm one of the kids. What's up, guys?" Like it has to be something like that, and that works. Like people, yeah, hello, fellow kids, exactly. And then you still need like a link, so you can put one link in your TikTok bio, and that you can link to your Steam page, and that will convert to wishlist for sure. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Again, my game's unannounced, but I will start doing that probably in June when I announce the game. That was a good question. Thank you. Anything else? You can ask me anything. I like trying to help. Yeah. 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 No, don't discard. And like I said, like the passion's so important. Like if you love that game idea, because there's always like exceptions, and I'm speaking in generalities. It's not. Usually, I've seen people have success by like they take the game that they love, but not necessarily as popular, it's not selling a lot, and they usually can try to like add a twist to it, and that's what indie marketers call like the hook. I'm trying to think of like a good hook recently. There was I don't know. There are a lot like if for instance if you want to make like a visual novel romance game. Have you guys seen those visual novel games on Steam? There was a game called Doki Doki Literature Club. Have you seen that? And again, it was like, the visual novel games do well, okay, but this solo developer, added a twist where it turns into like the most horrific horror game at the end, and it was pretty genius. It was unique. Yeah, yeah. I think if you want to give it more of a fighting chance of success, so you have like that tried and true genre that's not really selling well. An exercise I tell people is like, we'll think of like a genre that is selling well, like for instance, horror, and try to add it in somehow, maybe as a surprise or a twist. Those do well a lot. That would probably be my biggest advice. And of course, if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. Like I said, like finishing a game that you want to make, that's like huge like teaching experience. And sometimes it's those games that like you don't think are going to do well, but because there's so much love put into it, they do well anyway. And that happens too, like every day, for sure. But I also don't want any of you to burn out. I don't want you to kill yourselves. And it's a hard balance because as a solo developer, you're doing so much. It's honestly like it's impossible. That's what I'm trying to come to terms with. Is like it is my job. I don't have enough money to like hire a team. I can just hire like a contractor here and there, and I'm like, this is an impossible job. But it feels like that, but it is possible. Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. Yeah. It's totally a paradox. Like that's the best way to put it. Like yeah, you're trying to like, and that's where it's like, this is where like people say like a game needs a spark, and people be like, what does that mean? Like, how do you define a spark? And sometimes you don't know until you can like throw it out there. There's even, I don't recommend doing this. There's even some publishers out there that they don't make the game. I forgot the name of the publisher, but they do like a lot of simulation type games like Contraband Simulator and Ranch Simulator and stuff like that. And those games sell great. Those do great on Steam. But here's their strategy, which is kind of crazy. They apparently don't make the game. They just make like a rough prototype that's like all fake art, and they make the Steam page, and that tells them, oh, people want this game. They're wishlisting it because they think it's a real game. And then if people actually want the game and they get enough wishlists, they actually start production on the game that didn't exist. That's one way. I don't recommend doing that. I talked about social media can help you, and if you can do like a game jam prototype, maybe like if you have that idea that you're like, okay, maybe this could work. I don't know. You can do a game jam prototype, just do it in a week, and then post it on social media, and ask for feedback on social media. And usually, like the excitement level is a great indicator if it will actually sell. Those are all data points, and I knew like I knew the first tree was going to sell enough, like this was going to sell well because of just all the viral social media posts. Like I didn't go into it blind. It wasn't like a shock. I didn't know how well it would do, but I knew it would sell something, and it did. I had those data points to help me. Yeah, hopefully that helps. It's a hard question, knowing if the game has the magic spark or not. Anything else? Yeah. So yeah, when I was working full time, I was working 10 hours a week. I would usually work at night, every night. There was a time where I was like, I just wasn't watching TV or relaxing. I was just making my game, which was kind of a bummer. But I did that for years almost. After at night when it's like everyone's quieting down and stuff, I'd work on my game for 2 or 3 hours a day. A night, 2 hours a night, not usually more than 2 hours. Because like I was like commuting home, I was so like invested and passionate about my game idea that I would make a to-do list mentally as I'm driving home, and be like, okay, when I get home and after dinner, I need to do this stuff. I need to do level design. I need to fix that jump problem. And so like I wouldn't dilly-dally. Like I would just get straight to work. And here's the crazy thing, and people don't really believe me when I say this, but it's true. I'm full-time now, and I don't feel that much more productive than when I was a hobbyist. I was so like, because each hour was precious, I would just go straight to work and I would get stuff done. Now it's like, because I have a full day, I'm like, okay, I gotta check email. Yeah, I gotta grab a snack. I don't know. It is different. It's not that much more productive, surprisingly enough. That's for me. Maybe some people would say differently, but I try to do 10 hours, and 3 of those hours would be marketing, 7 of those hours would be development. Thank you. Great. That was great. Thanks for those great questions. I'm happy to be here. I guess it's time for demos, right? All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much, David. Just a reminder to everybody, they want us out at 8, so please start packing your things up at 7:55. We'll go ahead and start. Demos. If you have any questions, feel free to come up and ask. And if there's any newbies here, we're happy to help you and keep pointing you in the right direction and answer any questions you have. Thank you everybody for coming. I hope everybody has a nice evening.